Hey, my friends, welcome back to the Uncommodified Podcast. I'm Tim Windsor, and the guest on my show tonight is Sarah Chan. Sarah, welcome to the show. I'm going to call it the show tonight.
Thank you, my man. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you haven't figured it out already, just hearing Sarah, that little thing, Sarah's got a little bit of an accent, at least to me, because Sarah is from a part of the United States where they got a little bit of accent going on, Sarah.
I guess, yeah, man. That's what they say. I don't know.
I don't know. Is that Jersey Shore?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's Jersey Shore. So listen,
It's a Jersey
guess
Shore accent.
my listeners, you're going to love this conversation. I connected with Sarah, I don't know, 6 months ago or so online, started seeing her world. And then person that knows Sarah knows me, Suzanne Taylor King, a.k.a. STK, who I was on her podcast, and then she was on mine, and then Sarah was on hers, and I was on Sarah's. And it's just like it's a wonderful networking fest. I love it. So I'm excited to have this conversation, Sarah, tonight. And so let me ask you, I'm gonna put the pressure on you tonight. If I met you for the first time and you were introducing me to you and you were saying, Sarah Chan, complete the sentence, is, how would you answer that question, Sarah?
Bold, controversial, and stupid intelligent.
Look at that. I love it. Bold, controversial, and stupid intelligent. By the way, I love the stupid intelligent because it's a great oxymoron. I love it. So, by the way, I would say all those things are true. In every conversation I've had with you, Sarah, you are bold, a little brash, a little badass, which is, by the way, I think why I like you. And also, you are super intelligent. And you are also not quite 30, I believe, Sarah.
You're right. I am not 30. Thank you, Jesus. Not yet. I am
No,
26.
I know, not even, I said not quite, but she's not even not quite. Sarah is 26 years old, and as you get to meet her ttonight, listeners, you're going to realize that Sarah punches well above her weight. And Sarah, in a lot of ways, I will tell you, you remind me a lot of my own children. I have a 36-year-old daughter and a 33-year-old son, and they always related to older people. They always carried mature conversations, and that's always what I found in you as you and I have talked. So I'm looking forward to this conversation tonight. But of course, this is an uncorked conversation. And you are over 21 in the United States of America. So that's good. So we're going to have a drink together. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Downey cider, craft cider, not that Angry Orange bullshit. Um, Angry Orchard BS, sorry. Super tasty, and it's 5%.
Okay. And by the way, just so you know, I have an explicit disclaimer on my podcast. So you can say whatever you want here. It's fine.
That's phenomenal.
Now, I know that's the way you got to go. Now, for me, listeners, I am actually doing something a little different. I don't typically drink a lot of white wine, but this is a white wine. It's a Riesling. And why I love it is it's actually from a winery not far from where I live in Canada, in Niagara on the lake. And the winery is called Megalomaniac. And what's cool about this winery is the guy who started it, he was been in the wine business for a long time, and he found the wine business sort of too uppity and snobbery. And so he developed wine, and he gave it all this crazy name. Like he's got one of the lines called Son of a Bitch Merlot, I think.
I
And this
love
one's
that.
called
I
Megalomaniac.
think that's awesome.
And so on the back of it, it says this: what's with the name? I originally wanted to christen these wines with my name, John Howard. And then a good friend of me accused me of being yet another fucking megalomaniac. Regrettably, the name stuck. Ego notwithstanding, our mission is to bring integrity to the elements of wine production. It's great wine, but more important is the story. So here, I'm going to pour myself a glass of that.
Let's go. Might as well
Let's
just drink
go.
from the
So we
bottle,
got the
dude.
megalomaniac going on. So that's good. So, okay. So, Sarah, let's start the conversation here as I can't get used to screw top wine, by the way. It just seems so cheap, but that's fine. Anyways.
I used to drink wine out of a box when I was in college.
Oh
I
no,
know,
gosh,
I at least
not
know
wine
better
out of a
now.
box. We cannot. I can't. I know wine out of a box is good. My daughter-in-law drinks it
It's
sometimes. But
delicious. Put a little Sprite in that shit,
I
and
know it's the
it's
same. It's the
delicious
same
in
thing.
college.
But I feel like I want to get down on my knees and just put the spout right in my mouth. So I can't. I can't do it,
Well,
Sarah.
that's how we used to do it back in
I
the
know.
day.
I know. That's the way they used to do it. But I'm too old for that now. So. Okay, listen, here's the conversation that I want to have with you, Sarah. And of course, we're going to have lots of other conversations along the way. I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the power and potential of belief and what believing in ourselves does as we enter the world, whether it's in our personal or professional lives, in the work that you do. But what does believing in ourselves really do for us, and how do we do that in a way that we don't become narcissists? That would be one thing I'd want to think about.
Ooh.
Well, I have another conversation I'll have later, but let's start with that. So you obviously are a person who is extremely talented, quite young, very much stable in yourself, which is what I find and what I love about talking to you. You obviously have a tremendous sense of self-belief. So let's talk about, where did that come from?
I didn't have a home that taught me how to believe in myself. So every ounce of success solidified what everyone else thought about me
Hmm,
already. I had incredible mentors throughout my 20s that told me, I don't think you belong working for someone else.
hmm,
And in order to get yourself, because I always knew I was going to be a business owner. Let's just put that first. In order to get myself to somewhere that I wanted to be successful, it was a matter of the fact that I had to believe in myself. So in order to solidify that, success and results is how I did. So the more I started achieving results and success is actually how I figured out, I was like, oh, I'm not as shitty as other people say that I am. So that kind of just started drowning out the noise. I just kept going for it and chasing that high of success. That's how I honestly solidified it.
interesting. So you had a bunch of people speaking a lot of negative crap in your head
Mhm.
and in your ears, but yet you found a way to figure out how to get behind that noise and figure out who you were and get comfortable in your own skin. And you went, so you're in your mid-20s now,
Mhm.
and you have a really interesting world that you've created. So what is the world of Sarah Chan?
Um, in business, personal life, philosophy,
Let's do the whole thing. Let's do it
I
all.
think I think my world is, I'm just a teller, honestly. I cannot stand the world that we live in where we reward cowardice, people in general, versus people telling the actual truth. I tell the truth all the time. And unfortunately, that's gotten me called a lot of the time that I'm angry. I'm not angry. I'm just telling you the truth with conviction in my voice, which sounds like I am. And a lot of people, they sit here and they judge someone for being so young but so secure within herself, and we don't reward people for actually speaking the truth. I don't know where this got lost along the way in modern day society, that we reward people for being, honestly, bitches in the workplace versus people that have actual integrity. And a part of having real integrity is speaking the truth a lot of the time. We became such an incredibly weak society that we allow people to tell us how to think, what to say, how to say it, and all this other crap that makes us walk on eggshells for everyone else. And I think that's a very toxic society in which we currently live in. And no one else is gonna fucking say something unless it's going to be me. And honestly, I really just don't give a fuck anymore if someone just tells me you're angry or you're this or you're that, because the only reason why you are saying that is because you don't have the balls to say it the way I do. That's the difference between you and me. But here I am, 26, and some other person's like 48 years old, and you're telling me how to act when you, this entire time, don't even know how to act yourself. That's the fucking problem in society. We allow people to have a safe space that has created a weak society in hard times. Listen, it's very true what people say. Hard times create great people.
Hmm.
Great times create bad people. Okay? That's very true, because look at the way the geoeconomical situation is right now. We do not have strong leaders in politics or power that are running the world until last year, where we have a very strong political figure in office in the United States of America. I'm not sure how Canada works. However, when we reward softness, we create bad times. We cannot continue on this incessant need to be someone else when you have to already just say what you're thinking. And if you get fired for it, if you get canceled for it, it's probably 9 times out of 10 because you're right.
Hmm. Interesting. So here, let's go back for a second. So you have this surety about who you are. You have this belief in yourself, which is so powerful. So when you look back, growing up, there were times when you didn't have that. You had other people speaking into your ear, and yet you have come to this. So, did you have? Was there a specific experience where you started to realize, you know what, I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to be the person I want to be, and I believe that I can do this. Was there a specific time or situation that sort of crystallized that for you?
Yeah, I would say working at Saks Fifth Avenue, I sold $110,000 in 8 months. No sales experience, worked all in restaurants throughout my entire college career. I was 22 when I got hired. And that honestly just showed me like no matter where you come from, you can achieve a great amounts of success too. I mean, I took on a counter that literally had zero business being generated, and I took that counter and flipped it upside down in like 3 months. And I was at the time I was a kid. I mean, I'm a kid. Like, and realistically, Tim, I'll be so honest. I feel like I am still a kid in a lot of ways because I look at things with such a high level of optimism that a lot of people just don't anymore. But also at the same time, I also love what I've been able to accomplish throughout my very young career. That a lot of people they're like, "Well, how the fuck did you do it?" I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that something needed to change. But also, I do come from, and I think this is important for your listeners to hear this, is that I do come from a very entrepreneurial family. My dad's a seven-figure entrepreneur. My almost all of my extended Chinese family are all entrepreneurs too. When they came over from China and Hong Kong, they started businesses, mostly in the restaurant industry. So I think it's really important that you keep just striving for that level of excellence. I think a lot of people don't have that urge and sense of urgency to continue on achieving that level of success.
Hmm. So that being said, so your work today, what's your primary focus of your work today?
I think the amount of times I've thought about, and I love this question, I love when I got asked this now. When I first started my company, it was more so about making marketing more affordable. A lot of marketing agencies are going to charge you anywhere between $3,000 to $6,000 a month for services. Okay, because then you have to also factor in the client's budget as well for running ads, running campaigns, stuff like that. You have to factor that in. But it's more so now that I only take brands on when I think that there's a really good founder. I had a very poor experience with a previous client that I had. Literally so conflict avoidant, didn't know how to do anything basically, had to rely on external staff to get the job done. It just gets to a point where we have a lot of marketing companies out here that just don't know what they're fucking doing basically. We're at a point in society where you have to really love what you do. The reason why I do what I do now is because I make people get seen. And when I think a founder is worth achieving success, that's why I do what I do. Because if they benefit, then any marketer should have a smile on their face because a lot of times marketing companies will blow a budget. A lot of times, I would say 7 times out of 10, a marketing company will blow a budget because they don't know how to manage it. But if you have a marketer that knows what they're doing, how to manage finances and the power of social media, which is what I specialize in, then you really found a good agency to go through.
Hmm. So social media, social marketing is a big area of your focus. I
Mm-hmm.
know that you have an extensive background in relationships to copywriting, and obviously that is going to help you in that area. But most of your clients, how do they? So okay, so how do you find clients?
Simply put, um, the way I switched my strategy for this year is I'm gonna let my content do the talking this year.
Hmm.
I started really switching up my content like in October of like last year, and then that's when I started getting like a lot of impressions and a lot of followers because what I was doing was I was bringing honesty back.
Hmm.
What you see on LinkedIn is a lot of fluff,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, and it's infuriating because we try to play this political correctness game all day long. It's like I don't even know how the fuck you are different from this other coach. You see what I'm saying? It's like I tell that to everyone. Everyone thinks I'm crazy when I say that. You need to pick one thing out of your program that is different from the other leadership coach that is competing against you, essentially. Okay. So I am going to let my content do it for me. Of course, I'll network. If someone introduces me to someone of value, of course, I'll take a meeting. Other than that, I'm going to let my content do the work. A lot of what I've seen is a lot of networking groups online aren't what they say they are. No one knows how to give out referrals. No one knows how to introduce people. No one knows how to talk about what they do because I can't tell what the fuck you do. In the first 10 seconds, you should be able to tell me how you do something and what you do. And if you can't tell me that, normally 9 times out of 10, I just wrote you off.
Well, again, that's part of your personality and the way you look at life, and I enjoy that. So let me ask you a question, and of course, it's never good to talk in generalities like your generation, but let's talk in generalities for a second.
Sure.
So when you look at people in your generation and how and your friends and the world you live in, and you look at how they look at job opportunities and working for a company, and what is it that you think you and your generation is looking for from your work experience, whether you create it yourself, like you are in your own business, or if you're working for someone else? What is a 20-something North American firecracker like yourself expecting and looking for from either the business they build or the businesses they work for?
I think we have done a very piss poor job in this continent about work life balance. I think we've done a very piss poor job. We see more people more depressed, porn addicted, fat, and all the other things than ever beforehand. And it's simply because we do not give our teams time to decompress from jobs. Period. I don't need to be a psychologist to tell you that, okay? Here's the problem. The problem is that what we look for now, everyone else rejects. We look for really good benefits. Let's just start there. The healthcare marketplace inside the U.S. is completely damaged. Okay, and we simply cannot afford to get healthcare on our own because it's super expensive. And then second of all, what we're also looking for is to be able to have a job that allows us the flexibility to create other hobbies or endeavors outside the workplace. Here's a problem that I see very often. A lot of employers, when they find out that you have a side hustle or you're building a podcast or something that's an extra outside endeavor outside of the workplace, they'll immediately fire you
Hmm.
because people are insecure. And honestly, you and I sat on my podcast, we're talking about the same thing. If you're that insecure, you shouldn't be hiring people. You shouldn't
Yeah,
be a boss at all
yeah.
because you need to get your EQ right before you take on people because there's a substantial amount of EQ that you have to have naturally in order to manage people. And no one talks about that. So, young kids like myself, we look for good opportunities that allow us the flexibility to work productively while giving us the freedom to spend it with our families and or outside extracurricular activities and or endeavors. That's what we look for in the marketplace.
Hmm. So, by the way, I like it. Now, I'm going to give you time to have another drink because sometimes I don't let my guests get a second drink. And, by the time they get a second drink, I'm on to my third or fourth. So, you have a drink of beer and let me muse on that for a second. So, that's interesting. So, you have a real clear understanding that you want some flexibility. You believe you and other people like yourself and your generation are looking for some flexibility, adaptability between their work and their home life, their private life.
Mm-hmm.
There's complex issues obviously that we're all dealing with. There's lots of challenges going on, but these are some of the things that you see that's important. You obviously also you personally are really great at speaking your mind, which I can imagine creates some challenge every once in a while because people, particularly maybe, frankly, older people like myself, we don't always honor what we're hearing from when we're hearing from younger people, and that can be a problem at times. So here's a question that I want you to think about. So, what does healthy debate look like for you? So
Ooh.
because we have a challenge, I think, in our society right now I would say we probably have it globally. We for sure have it in North America. I know we have it in Canada. I believe you have it in the U.S.
Big time in the
We-
US,
Yeah,
yes.
but we have this tremendous challenge around polarization where the ability to disagree and the ability to debate without it becoming so polarized that it becomes just a cesspool of shit. Um, what does having healthy discussion and debate look like to you, and why is it potentially so important as we move forward?
This is a very simple answer. If you stop talking about what you believe in to make the country in which you live in better, that's how civil war starts.
Hmm, interesting.
That's how it starts. Think about it. The American Revolution was simply to break away from British control by the monarchy. And we did that successfully. We got our independence in 1776. Now, you had the Civil War happen in the 1800s. Why? Because no one could actually get to healthy levels of communication. And then you had an all time war breakout, along with fighting for the rights from slavery, right? So the minute we stop talking about what we believe in, that's how civil war starts. And we're probably on the brink of it more so than anybody realizes. The day that Charlie Kirk got assassinated in broad daylight should be an absolute wake up call to not only probably Canada, but to also the United States of America. Everyone was if you were on the opposing side, you wished a man dead, that he was a racist, that he was this, he was that. The Republican side, in which I am a Republican, I did vote for Donald Trump. We all mourn the loss of such an incredible individual. At the bare minimum, at the end of the day, Charlie Kirk was a human being. And I think that's really where we start, is understanding we're human beings, but we're also entitled to different opinions. Okay, there's
Yeah,
a two-party system in the United States along with third parties, right? You have the Tea Party, you have the Green Party, you have the Independents, you have the Moderates, right? You have all these different political parties outside of the Democrat and Republican parties politically. The problem is that we don't know how to have healthy conversations. I think the way we start having healthy conversations is just understanding why someone believes in what they believe in. I believe in what I believe in simply because my dad's an immigrant. I
hmm,
don't believe in illegal immigration, and anybody who isn't legal should get deported. Why? Because my dad and everyone else who I know is an immigrant did have to wait to come into this country. And
right.
I don't think it's fair that someone just crosses the border and gets EBT, SNAP, and health benefits from our taxpaying dollars. I don't think that's fair, right?
Yeah.
When I know
No.
that didn't happen for my grandparents and my dad and my uncle when they came to the country.
Yeah.
Okay? That's
Yeah.
why I believe in what I believe in.
Yeah, and and first of all, again, I love this conversation, and again, if you're listening in, I always say you're listening in for a reason, and do me a favor, don't polarize yourself as you listen, because I think the way I see this conversation sort of going is we're going to tuck into some conversation and some things that are going to be uncomfortable for some people, and that's okay. And I think this is part of maintaining tension in debate is that if I have to always be comfortable in the conversation, if I always have to be at a place where I'll never be offended, then we're not going to be able to have robust enough conversations that push and pull on each other. I will tell you, to be honest, and then this is just the way I look at life. So I'm not an American, I'm a Canadian, but I will say that I follow people from lots of different streams of thinking, not just people that believe what I believe, because I think an echo chamber is deafening. I think an echo chamber makes you deaf. And so I consume social media, I consume news, for instance, from multiple sources. I always have. Because at the end of the day, I believe, Sarah, for instance, that most news, if not all of news today, is more commentary than news reporting. And the commentary has a bias, as every human does. So my belief is, and a number of podcasts ago, I did a podcast that was entitled, and it was just me jabbering on. It was entitled, You Don't Just Have Opinions, You Have Biases. And what I mean by that is, I actually believe that about myself. I don't just have opinions, about something. I don't just have beliefs, I have biases. Now, I believe my bias bent is in the right direction, but I typically believe that people who don't believe what I believe, their bias bent is in the wrong direction. And I think that's a problem. And I do think that we have to get better at tolerating and listening to things that we don't appreciate for the sake of challenging ourselves. So for instance, I myself, although I will tell you personally, although I didn't believe in probably a majority of what, let's say, Charlie Kirk may have espoused,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he met the death that he did is disgusting. It's
Thank you.
wrong. It's
Thank
terrible.
you.
It's terrible. And that should never happen to anyone. At the same time, I don't have to agree with fundamentally what anyone is saying, but I can disagree in a way that does not create mortal enemies of one another. And I think that's one of the challenges in our culture right now, Sarah, is that if you and I don't believe the same, I don't believe that makes us enemies. I believe that makes us potentially opponents. That's different, very different. And I
Woof.
don't think we handle that tension very well. I think it's a problem. I think it's ripping our culture apart. I think it's ripping our society apart, to your point. And if we aren't careful, we are going to get to a point where the rhetoric of disagreement is going to take over the wisdom of debate.
100%. Listen, the way I believe in it is I think we actually have an issue with debating when it comes to our education as well. Think
Yes.
about it. Generally, education, I would say that I don't know this for a fact based off the top of my head, but I would say almost about generally 85% of American children go to public school. Think about it, okay? Your kids are sitting in school for 7 hours a day,
Yeah.
being taught how to think, how to talk, how to learn, how to debate, and all this other crap. Basically, program robots. So when you are taught basically one side of the argument and not the other side of the argument,
Right.
now we've got problems. I saw something on Instagram the other day. I find it ironic that we're taught, one basically only one genocide, but we're not taught about other genocides I have had happen, like say the Rwandan genocide, the
Mm-hmm.
Bolshevik genocide. Okay, we're only taught basically about the Holocaust. I always wondered, and when it wasn't until I saw that I was like, wait, why are we only being taught the one perspective?
Yeah.
And if you question the one perspective, it's like you're the worst person on the face of the planet. We
Right.
have we have also, it is our faults as adults that we have allowed this to happen. And here's the problem is no one wants to take accountability for the way kids are like me are growing up and thinking only one way. Because think about it, like I said beforehand, you have kids sitting in school for 7 hours a day being programmed,
Yeah.
not by you, not by the world, but
Yeah.
by people that are not their fucking parents. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's why.
I think it is a problem about people's worldview. To your point, Sarah. I mean, obviously, ethnically, you come from an Asian heritage and tradition,
Mhm.
and again, the value set, the belief systems that within Asian culture are different. You come and you amalgamate that culture together. I think we've lost some of that, and people live in again their own echo chamber. I mean, I
Mhm.
think statistically, the majority of American adults don't actually have a passport, meaning they typically stay within your own country. And
Right.
that's fine because you have a big country and you can travel and be in cold
Right.
climate and warm climate and all of that stuff. But I will say that the one thing that's been transformative for me in my own worldview was spending a lot of time in Africa and India, other countries and other cultures, and learning that I had bias. I believed that my culture wasn't just better, but it was right and it was the only right one. You start to begin to realize as you get outside yourself that there's a lot of different ways to look at the world. Even our heritage as a country in Canada, we have a very deep, dark past in relationship to how we treated our Indigenous people, our First Nations people. very much a conspiracy between and complicit between the church and state, and the eradication of indigenous culture, the stealing of children from their parents to put them in residential schools because white people knew better. All the thing we've got lots of atrocities in our own world. To your point, up until recently, we never even talked about this in our own country. Children now, for the first time in Canada, are being educated about what we did. When I went to school, it wasn't even in a textbook. We didn't talk about it.
Right.
So I think what's happening, and I think it's a good thing, is we're starting to recognize that we all got our own bullshit. We all got problems.
It's the
And we have
same
to,
way in American school system. We're not
yeah.
taught that the American people, white people in general, put Chinese and or Asian people in concentration camps and built the railroads. We're only told that black individuals have gone through slavery. So it's a completely biased education system that we're perpetuating onto American children. I think the problem is that when you only hear one side of the story, it doesn't make you question anything else because
Right.
you don't know anything else. And most 9 times out of 10, people are not going to go look for the other side.
It's so true. And by the way, I want to bring this back to sort of the world of leadership and coaching and connecting with
Yeah.
leaders and all that kind of stuff, because I think that in business leaders fall susceptible to the same thing. And I always say to leaders when I work with them, I said the thing you must never forget is, as a leader, you might have a unique perspective, but you do not have a complete perspective.
Amen.
There's a big difference.
100%.
So, and sometimes it's just the privilege of perspective. The higher you climb in an organization, if you think about it like a building, if you live on the 20th floor of a building in New York City, or the 50th floor, you get to see the horizon very differently than if you live on the second floor. Just because you have had the privilege, or you gain the opportunity to get to the 50th floor, doesn't mean you're a fucking better person. It just means you've got a different vantage point to view things from. At the end of the day, you go in the same door at the bottom of the building.
Yeah.
And people need to remember this in business, and we got to remember it in our society, because so often we take our vantage point as the only and truthful vantage point. It's just not
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. And listen, I think I remember we touched upon this subject on my show, and you know what? I think the biggest problem is that people can't get their heads out of their own asses.
Yeah.
I think that's a real issue. I think I think I want to start here with what I'm about to say. Leadership. I actually responded to a post on LinkedIn from Mike O'Neill. I'm sure you know who that is,
Hmm.
Tim. And it was somewhat of the along the lines of leadership is simple, something like that. I'm like, leadership is really fucking simple. This is how you become a great leader. Don't do things that you don't like being done to you, to other people.
Hmm.
It's so fucking easy.
It is.
And I think that a lot of people, they sit there and wonder why their teams hate them. It's because you're doing what you didn't like onto your team and not asking them if there's something to be changed.
Yeah.
You think your way is the only way to get something done, and that's that. No, that's totalitarianism at its finest. Sorry. Okay? The workplace should be open for open debate, because if your way works better than my way, what do you think I'm going to say? Your way is more efficient. It's not because I'm stupider than you. It's because you came up with a better idea, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No, you're right, and it is. You are correct in that we overcomplicate so many things. And partly, I think the propensity to overcomplicate is we want people to think that somehow we've figured out things that they'll never understand. And that's
Yep.
a problem. And we want to sometimes make things look harder than they need to look because we want them to look more unattainable. And
Mm.
I think that's a problem. And to your point, leadership is rather simple. If you keep your own house in order, you remain accountable, you do the right things, you treat people, as you said, the way you'd like to be treated, you include people in the conversation, you understand that you're not the only, nor are you the smartest person in the room some days. If you just remember a few of those things, then you would move in the right direction and you would bring people to yourself. At the end of the day, a lot of people who think they're leaders, they're not leaders. At the end of the day, leaders have followers, and followers follow those whom they respect and
That's
trust.
right.
It's not that difficult. If I don't respect you, if I don't trust you, I don't want to be led by you. And I would go so far as to say is the most important leadership role that every person have is self-leadership. Because at the end of the day, if you can't lead yourself, if you can't get your own shit together, why the fuck would I want to be led by you? Not
Let's
that
go.
difficult.
You know what? I find it so utterly fucking astounding when someone tells me to follow you, but you don't have a fucking clue what you're doing. It's like a backhanded compliment, honestly,
Yeah.
right? We've all have had them, backhanded compliments. And it's so much worse because you're sitting there and being like, that is the dumbest fucking thing I have ever heard of. Why would I follow you? And then if you don't get a say, you just have to do the stupidity and it's going to drive you absolutely fucking crazy all day long.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. So let's think about this because we're going to bring the conversation for a landing in a little while. But so you're 26 now. So I want you to think out 10 years from now. 10 years from now, by the way, I'll be 70. So
You're looking good over there, my man.
I'll be older, man. My wife and I are officially seniors. It's crazy. It happened. I was 26 yesterday, Sarah. Just to be clear, but I'm not 20. It wasn't quite yesterday. So let's say 10 years from now. Okay, so Sarah Khan is now 36 years old.
Mhm.
What do you envision as what does 36-year-old Sarah look like?
Personally, professionally,
You go whatever you go wherever whatever.
okay. I only ask because obviously, having context is important, but I think 36, married, have a couple kids, multi business owner, but probably running for public office.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. You've heard it here.
yeah.
Sarah Chan. What kind of public office?
I would like to probably become governor.
Okay.
I
Of New
think
Jersey?
honestly, yes. I think that at one point when I was a child, we did have a Republican governor. It was when Sandy happened, and I was in middle school when Sandy happened, and I didn't have power for 3 weeks, by the way. Along with, I know that Yonkers, Brooklyn, Queens got hit much harder. They didn't have power for months, by the way.
Hmm.
Um, I think the way that taxes are being distributed in New Jersey are absolutely fucking terrible. And we're not allocating resources the way they should be. The first thing I do in public office is honestly, I would look into the way we're actually managing a budget because I don't see the roads getting fixed at all. So if I'm paying taxes here, why are the roads not being fixed? We have a bunch of potholes everywhere. There's absolutely no reason when the state produces billions of dollars to the American GDP that we have potholes here. That's the bare minimum. So obviously, and this is not just me saying this, but the young generation, regardless of a political affiliation, we all feel like this that we got handed the shittiest economy inside ever the United States. And on top of that, we don't feel a future. We are also allowing people that have been career politicians back into office, and yet you continue to not change anything. So who's gonna fucking change it, Tim? Is it gonna be the people that are career politicians? I mean, the best thing is when Trump debated, Biden, and he said, "I've done more in 47 months than you did in 48 years, 47 years." That's the thing. If you don't have someone that's going to have proactive change inside of a GDP or economy, then get the fuck out. That's the problem. We keep electing people that are not making positive change. And my generation's tired of it.
Fair enough. Well, listen, that's interesting. So 10 years from now, you're the governor of the state of New Jersey, and I am fully retired getting my pension. I like that. I like that. Although I won't have a very big pension because I've been self-employed all my life, so it's a little different.
Right.
My pension comes from the money that I saved and my wife is really good at that. So she will take care of me for the rest of my life. It's
She's a
amazing.
keeper.
It's a good deal. You know what? She is a keeper. Well, we got almost 40 years into this relationship. So
That's
I don't
awesome.
know. I know I couldn't do better. She could do better, but I know I couldn't do better. So
Humble man.
there you go. Well,
Humble
all
man.
I
That's
would
why
say,
you're
listen,
married.
I hope that you get the privilege of having a great partner like I've had. My wife has been an amazing partner to me for 30, 40 years, and one of the reasons for that is she doesn't put up with my bullshit, and she also supports all my crazy ass ideas. And she says, "Well, what's the worst thing that could happen? You could fail, then we can move on. It's no big deal."
You know what?
Years ago,
I hope to God
when I
everyone
first
has a
met my
partner
wife,
like that.
I was 20, in my early 20s, I was making $60,000 a year, and I decided I would run my own business, and I started my own business and made $7,000.
Yeah,
But I was having fun, and it took me
yeah.
in the direction of my career. So there you go.
And that's the thing with me. Like, I think my first year in business, which we're coming up at the end of my second year, at the end of this month,
Hmm.
um, I think I made like 20 grand last year. And then I just checked my P&L again. I made 45 this year.
There you go.
And that's the thing. Like, you just have to keep working at it. You have to have this self belief. And that comes back to our original topic of
Yeah,
discussion. You
right.
have to have the self belief that if you can double your revenue in literally 1 year, bro,
Yeah,
that's success, man. That's success. And I guess people just don't, they don't think about it like that. You know what I mean? They don't think
yeah,
about the small milestones that you've achieved
yeah.
in
No,
life.
totally agree. Okay, listen, I'm going to give you. Let's wrap this up for a second, because obviously you're a real uncommodified person. There's not very many people that I met like you, Sarah, and that's what's attracted to me. And I love having these conversations with you. So I got this question for you. So when Sarah walks in a room and you're being this and bringing the thing that only Sarah can, what's the thing that you're doing that in the moment people may not appreciate, but when they leave and think about it, they will? What's Sarah bringing in that room?
Being incredibly fucking honest
Hmm.
and saying the thing that people are afraid of saying.
Hmm.
We don't have a
Well, let's.
lot of those anymore, Tim. We just
No,
don't, dude.
no, we don't. We don't have. That's a problem. And here's what I want to say to you as we finish up, Sarah Chan. You give me hope for the future.
Thank
Okay,
you.
because
That's a great
because
compliment.
we need a generation of people like yourself, frankly, like, I'll be really honest, like my kids, who are willing to stand up and step up when things are difficult. They're willing to take it on the chin. They're willing to allow it to cost them personally or professionally, to do the right thing, to say the right thing, to bring that honest contribution, whether people want to hear it or not. And my children have had their own share of difficulties navigating their own worlds in the last number of years, because they're not, just kind of sit down and shut up kind of people.
Right.
I described my daughter in my book Uncommodified. I describe my daughter as someone who is unbridled and unbranded.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you think about an unbridled horse won't let somebody put a bit in its mouth to control its head.
Right.
And an unbranded horse will not receive the branding or marking of ownership of anyone else. And I actually believe that the hopefulness in the future for us and for a person like you is, you're in a world where you do marketing and branding. My encouragement to you, Sarah, is never let yourself be branded by any other brand but your own personal brand of integrity, honesty, vulnerability, maybe brutal honesty at times. That's fine. And don't let anybody put a bit in your mouth. Don't let
Thank
anybody
you.
try to control you. And remember that at the end of the day, if you're making decisions that you believe are at the positive benefit for yourself and others, then that's a great day. And you give me hope. And I'm just wanting to say again, if you're listening in and you're still listening, you're listening for a reason. And some of the things that Sarah said today, you might not have appreciated. It doesn't matter. In fact, I hope that some of the things that she said today, you didn't agree with at all. That's great. Do me a favor,
That
wrestle
means
it.
you have an
Look what it
opinion.
means. Yeah, it means you got an opinion. That's good. That's a great day.
It
So,
is.
yeah, it is. And so, Sarah, listen, I appreciate this conversation. It's a great one. Thanks for your time. Listen, if somebody wanted to hunt you down and they wanted to connect with you, or they wanted to figure out how they could get your mad skills in social media and copywriting and everything working for them, how they find you?
You're gonna post my LinkedIn. You can find that on my LinkedIn, and then my number is 941-405-9746. Email is sarah@srqcopy.com. That's how you can find me and email me.
Awesome. And it's Sarah, so it's with
That's
an H, so
correct.
it's Chan, Chan. Sarah, thanks so much for your time. Again, if you listened in, if you listen to Reason, do me a favor, email me at tim@uncommodified.com or DM me and let me know what you're doing with this conversation and how it's actually pissing you off. Because if it is, then we might actually be moving in the right direction.